So your delegation is the first European Parliament delegation to visit Taiwan in 2026. What are your biggest takeaways from discussions with Taiwanese officials during your trip this time?
This visit coincided with an almost unprecedented scale of Chinese attempts to intimidate Taiwan. Of course, the visit was planned earlier and had nothing directly to do with that, but of course both the European Union, but we also during the visit reacted and condemned this action, which was unprovoked, unnecessary. And if there is a change of the status quo, it's from the Chinese side and not from Taiwan. We are here also to defend the status quo, which is, I think, in everybody's interest, even that of mainland China. Moreover, we have covered all aspects of relevant possibilities for cooperation. So apart from current sharing information of how to tackle cutting of undersea cables, which we have in the Baltic Sea just this week again, and you have it, you have your experience, you know how to deal with it. This is a very practical thing. I think we need to simply talk to each other and exchange information. We talked about the further deepening, broadening economic cooperation, which is in our interest, which is in your interest. We are, as European Union, the biggest investor in Taiwan, and of course we are aware of your abilities and possibilities concerning the famous semiconductors.
And I'm curious what your assessment of the state of Europe-Taiwan relations right now is, and if you see any obstacles in those relations.
We as a parliament have always pushed for more because we think a one China policy encompasses everything of practical cooperation, and we should make use of that. And in a time where many certainties on the global level, especially with regard to the US, are not there anymore, not towards us in Europe, not towards you. That is the moment where like-minded democracies need to find common ground, close ranks, have, so to say, democratic supply lines established in order to strengthen ourselves mutually and reassure ourselves, and tell the bad guys on the world that they would also suffer if they unilaterally change the status quo. I told them very clearly that they should not certainly resort to violence, because that would definitely not suit their own social contract at home. I mean, what is the contract all about? The people shut up and don't do politics, that's for the party, but in return the party seeks to improving the living standard. That has worked for a while, it doesn't anymore economically, and if that were added by a violent attack against Taiwan, that would throw the entire global economy into a deep crisis, and then they can at home not deliver. So I hope such warnings have an echo at home in Beijing. I told them clearly, look to Russia and Ukraine. He thought it would be over in a week or so. You can start a war, but you never know how it ends. And hopefully there is more reason prevailing in the inner circles in Beijing than it is obviously the case in Moscow.
And so if China does use force against Taiwan, how should Europe respond?
Well, militarily we are too far away. That is illusionary to think that we would then send ships until our ships are there. That would be difficult. So I hope that reason prevails in Washington, that if it is, and I think it is so, if China is the biggest challenge for the US, and in the long term for us as well, if that is so, one should seek that the first island chain remains stable. Not only Taiwan, but the others as well. But it would, for our part, definitely cause massive sanctions, which would then add to the effects that I described earlier, that they would definitely at home get huge problems. I mean, on the other side, China is a bigger chunk of global economy than Russia is. Russia was, even for Germany, only 2% of German foreign trade was with Russia. We could compensate that. And China is a bigger chunk, and it would be more difficult for us as well. And overall, I'm coming back to what I said earlier, rather don't try the worst. That is definitely our warning also.
I guess I'm wondering right now, how does Europe balance ties between China and Taiwan?
We should stop looking on Taiwan through the Chinese lens. We should simply identify areas where it is in our interest to cooperate with Taiwan. As I said before, one China policy means for us to do everything possible apart from a formal diplomatic recognition.